All right, today is Tuesday, November 25th. It is just 4:30 p.m. This is the regular meeting of the CDBG Steering Committee meeting. Starting off, announcement of open meeting recordings. Is anyone here making a recording besides staff? I see no mention of anyone. Moving on to our public hearings. First off, we have FY 22-23 CDBG mini entitlement grant activity budget changes, transfer of $158,206.52 in unused funds from the 205-213 Main Street demolition project and the downtown Phase 4 project to the Gardner Community Action Committee and the Montechusett Veterans Outreach Center for Public Social Services. I'll pass it on to Amy to introduce.
So, as you know, we've been working to reallocate the little over $158,000 we have available from the 205-213 Main Street demolition project and the downtown improvements Phase 4 project. Both of those projects were completed under budget. So we've been working to try to develop a plan to reallocate those funds. And given the current situation with SNAP benefits and heating assistance and other emergency assistance coming from the federal government and an increased demand in the city for those services, after consulting with the folks at the Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities and Jason consulting with the mayor, we decided that we would open up an application process and send applications to both of the agencies listed here to see if they had unmet need for public social services that CDBG could fill. And in response, we have their applications that are in your packet and also a summary of what they've applied for on the spreadsheet. And it gets us, if you were to approve their funding requests, we'd have a little over $9,000 still left unallocated. The good news is, since our last meeting, we received an extension for our 22-23 funds, and we have until June 30th to expend those funds. So that takes a lot of pressure off, but we would want to execute agreements with these agencies right away and get the money out the door. And they both, when we sent the application to them, we confirmed with them that they'd be able to expend the money very quickly. And we also talked about any procurement requirements that they would have to follow, so they understand what those are. I can walk you through the requests if you'd like. So the Gardner Community Action Committee submitted a request for a part-time staff position. That's a position that's currently funded with CDBG money that they use CDBG funds for through September 30th. They're waiting on, they were part of our fiscal year 25 application, so they're waiting for that money, so they have a gap there, and this would help them fill that gap. They still have a need for that position. That position's critical to their operations and quickly responding to people's emergency needs, whether it's food, clothing, housing. They also requested the purchase and installation of a freezer, and a new freezer and a new refrigerator. What they have now is over 10 years old. It's not efficient, and it would be very helpful for them to be able to store food, more food for their recipients that use their program. They've requested funds to purchase a new cargo van to support their food transportation efforts. They pick up food from the Worcester Food Bank, and this would allow them to do that much more efficiently. Currently, they're renting a U-Haul or other truck to do that monthly. So that would be a real help to their agency. They also requested money for additional shelving and a prep table for their pantry to allow them to store more food and better serve their clients. And more food. They also requested more non-perishable and some perishable food to restock because they've seen such a demand recently for their program. The final request that they have is for heating assistance. They currently operate a heating assistance program through funds from the federal government that come through the state. those funds may be reduced. If you've heard that in the news recently, there's that possibility. They've also experienced a much greater demand for that assistance this year than ever before. So this would help fill any gap that they have there. MVOC requested support for their food pantry and clothing pantry. They want to purchase more frozen food, household cleaning supplies, winter clothing. They've had a big demand for winter clothing this year, particularly clothing that people can wear to work. And their shelf-stable food that has been depleted, and they'd like to replenish that with these funds. Program supplies for facilities. They've requested couch canes to help people with mobility impairments be able to move around more easily at their facilities. 6 bed assist railings for their 268 Central Street and 52 Main Street permanent supportive housing project. 12 twin mattresses for their 268 Central Street transitional shelter program. The mattresses they have now are over 5 years old, and they came to them used already, so there's a big need for that. 2 keypad door locks for their 52 South Main Street program that will help people who live there who have mobility issues not have to carry their keys around when they have other things they may be carrying, or a walker or assistance devices to easily access their home. They also requested funds for a veteran reintegration activity program. These are activities that they carry out with the 12 people who live at their transitional shelter to reintegrate them back into the community after leaving the military. They've requested money for local activities, fly fishing classes, an overnight fly fishing trip, and a Red Sox game with tickets and transportation. So if you haven't read their application, they give a really good example of how those activities have helped people reintegrate back into the community. It's very touching. So any questions about what I've gone over? Comments?
I think these are good. I think this is a good way to meet the need that we're currently seeing in the community. I know Julie and Stephanie have both spoken with me directly about the need that they're facing. So I think this is a good way to reallocate the funds and really meet the moment that we have with the funds that we have available, and I think this is actually what the funds would be intended for. Just for the purpose of the record, I will note that the CAC's governing documents do say that the mayor does appoint someone to their board of directors, so I do appoint Ms. Hillman, who's here, to serve on their board as my representative to their board, but I don't foresee any issues with any of that either.
Yeah, I support all the applications. I think both applicants gave incredible detail for what each piece was, which makes it our job. That makes us not have a lot to say right now because there's really not a lot of questions. It's very clear. They're obviously both organizations do this on a regular basis and appreciate what we are able to give them. And kind of on the heels of the federal funding being up in the air for some of these things, I would want them to. I'm glad that this process was done with. Thoroughly and quickly, like we could recognize the funding that was available, get the applications in, review them. Us meeting monthly helps us be able to do that in this committee. But right now, whatever kind of funding is out there, I think should be in the hands of who needs it and can spend it as quickly as possible because you just don't know where it's going to go. We obviously have purview over this, but I think you have no idea what's going to happen with federal funding in the future as of right now. So I support all of this. I think it's wonderful. I really appreciated this overview here because it just makes it that line item by line, and it makes, again, our job much clearer. And I know that for the CAC piece of it, I was pleased to see the purchase of food in particular because I know when the CAC when they get funding for it, they know best what they need, so they can purchase it, and they also have benefits because of the type of organization they are to be able to make that money go as far as possible, whereas if the food is donated, you don't really know what their needs are, and I think it's great that we were able to contribute to fill what their actual needs are in that way. But again, I support both applications, and I'm really grateful for MBUC and CAC doing such a thorough job in submitting them, so thank you.
Any other further comments?
The only thing I'll just say, I'm Julie from the
Absolutely.
Executive Director of CAC and representing MBOC as a board member. And we just want to first thank you for thinking of us during this. And the investment is going to make an immediate impact into human lives right here in Gardner. Both our agencies are seeing unprecedented number of families coming in looking for help with food, heating, clothing, reintegration activities. So thank you for your consideration of both of our agencies for this.
The only other thing I would like to point out at the bottom of your tables for the applications, it does note that the CAC is going to be providing a 10% match for agencies. That's due to the fact that 9% of the total recipients who receive benefits through the CAC exist outside of Gardner, so 91% are here directly in Gardner, and it was determined by EUHLC, the governing body for this grant, that up to 91% of the funding for these, for any request from the CAC can be provided through the grant funding. So they're actually going 1% above and beyond what is fully required of providing the funds themselves to make sure that they are seeing these projects through. The vast majority of, I think I've done the math correct here, $110,000 about is going directly to the CAC, while about $38,000 is going to MVOC. And the CAC is really the main food pantry and food bank that the city has, MVOC being the other one, and the cargo van, I think, being one of the largest applications that you guys put forward. But that's one of the main hindrances that you have, is the fact that you can't transport all the food that you have, and this is allowing, I think I read like 2,000 pounds of food per week that you would be able to provide. And along with that, the funds that you would be able to save that you're currently spending week to week renting out U-Hauls, Penske trucks, whatever other rentals that you gather, that those funds could then be put back into your system rather than spent on unnecessary rentals. So more than glad to see that as a very just application here. So
something I'd like to add too, and I think what Julie just mentioned, I think highlights how this is a really symbiotic application too with it too, and that there is a high level of collaboration between MBOC and the CAC, with you being the executive director of one and a board member of the other, and Stephanie on the both ways, are really making sure that it's a complementary system and not something that tries to cannibalize off each other, but really have the best interests of the city at heart. So that's why I think this is more of a real, like you said, an impact hit on daily lives right now, rather than something that may go one way versus the other. We know we're getting the full picture with this.
we want to make it clear that the city watches out for itself, regardless of what happens, whatever winds may blow, and whatever level that those winds come from, whether it be state, federal, what have you, acts of God. Like, the city is going to watch out for itself, and if we have the ability to provide funds when times of need come, such as this, where SNAP funding was at risk, that we have the ability to pivot and allow there to be alternative funding that the city can help provide for those who need it most. So was very happy to kind of help my assistant director in terms of getting this together. She really led the charge on a lot of this, but appreciate all of the as many have said, the detail that you put into all these applications, each individual one. It makes our lives a lot easier. It makes this meeting a lot easier. So really appreciate all the time and effort both yourself and Director Marchetti has put into this. Dr. Marchetti, sorry. So with that, is anyone like to speak? Were there any other comments in favor for the proposed transfer? Any other comments in favor of the proposed transfer? Any comments opposing the proposed transfer? I hear none.
Do you need a motion on this?
This is just the public hearing. We will actually, do we actually have it further down? We need a motion on this? Okay. Then do I hear a motion on the proposed transfer?
I'll take a motion to accept.
Second.
I hear a motion, I hear a second. All in favor to accept the proposed transfer of $158,206.52 to both the Gardner CAC and MVOC, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. I hear none, the motion passes. And, the hearing is closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. No idea what I'm doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Terry. Very nice meeting you.
Good to see you, Terry.
In person. Alright,
Before we
moving on
move
to.
on, just one quick, I wasn't sure where to put this, so I put, the current income limits for our CDBG program here, because it kind of related to the work that's going to be carried out by these agencies, so just so you all have it. I know we talked about it at the last meeting briefly.
Moving on to the next public hearing, we have FY 2024 CDBG mini entitlement grant activity budget changes, transfer up to $791,342.51 allocated to the School Street School demolition project, to a new Greenwood Pool Pavilion project, and cancellation of the School Street School demolition project. Pass it on to Assistant Director Uhas.
So in your packet, you have a revised estimate from Ty and Bond, that shows an estimated total cost of $782,970, which is about $100,000 and change more than their original estimate. And you also have a revised rendering of the proposed pavilion, walkways, landscaping. I think that the increase in cost is due to, in part, to the BABA requirements, the Build America, Buy America requirements, and also just the increase in construction costs that we're seeing. I did, based on our discussion at the last meeting, I did send, actually today, so they didn't have much time to respond, the folks at Ty and Bond a message asking about the loaming and seeding and whether they thought it was appropriate to carry that out as part of the demolition project, and how they wanted to proceed, get their input on that, so we'll hear back from them soon, I'm sure. So we may have some additional money left from phase 1 demolition, if we do a change order to take that out of their contract. And we also have not tapped into any of the contingency budget for that phase of the project, so there'll be some additional money there unless something unforeseen happens.
What was the total contingency budget? Was that, Time Bond usually runs a little bit higher than,
That's this number right here.
So it was 10%.
okay,
I think the demo contract was $682,000,
Okay.
I think.
So I want to make sure I'm following this correctly.
Yeah.
So would that mean would that mean this number, the 782,970 could be lower?
So phase 1 could be lower, the $682,000 for the demolition, that we might not need as much money for that as we anticipated because of that contingency not being spent. But this could be lower too, and again, or this could be higher when we bid it, it's an estimate, so.
So I guess then my question is, or probably should have been, so if because I know this is a public hearing for the 791,342. So would we be able to would phase 1 balance out phase 2? I guess, I don't know if that's the right question, but because this is, you know, see what I'm saying? This is for the pavilion, and this School Street demolition, this is for, this is just taking this amount of money from this project and putting it over here. So it looks like we're gonna have more money than we need. If we transferred. I just want that to be clarified,
Yes,
I guess.
I would recommend, and it's up to you all, but I recommend that we allocate the full amount that we had for School Street School demolition to this project, just in case bids come in higher than the estimate.
Right.
And we've also talked with Ty and Bond about bidding some things as alternates, like some of the landscaping or the lighting, so that we can get the pavilion built, no matter what, just, in case bids come in high.
Okay, thank you. That's
Yeah, I have a couple comments and questions as well. But just to start it off, I guess for the benefit of the public watching and for the committee here too, so we did conclude the RFP process for School Street School. There were 2 bids that were received. Those were reviewed by the review committee. That's all been turned in. The recommendations have been made by my office. I took the unanimous recommendation of the review committee, and that was an offer that's been accepted and is currently pending. It's closing details right there. So the details of that sale will go public once the closing is recorded, as to who the no owner is and what the plans are for that time frame. But until that recording happens, all of the submission for the RFP documents are still considered privileged executive session, or normal executive session, but where this wasn't a full committee that considered privileged documents until recording, in which case at that point in time they'll become public record. But the sale is moving forward, so that does fully, formally, and now officially free up this funding that's there. As that moves forward. Looking at the budget, I also am in favor of moving the full amount into this. I'm personally someone who goes with the plan for as high as you can and hope for as low as you can with it, where particularly with the requirements of the procurement laws of the Commonwealth that you have to have the appropriation before you can even go out to bid and then figure out if you have enough in your original appropriation to go back out. Because we can always do this process again to transfer it to another project after the fact. I think if this was tying it up permanently and we weren't able to make that transfer in the end, I'd feel different, but because we always have that ability to transfer between projects, that's where I'm okay with that. But my question in looking with the conceptual design is that I see there's a fair portion of it that's in the Zone C buffer zone. Is that just mainly more conservation review because of the distance to the reservoir that
Yes,
means that?
yeah, they would need to go before the Conservation Commission.
For northern conditions or something?
Yeah.
Either an RDA or NOI.
An RDA, yeah.
Depending on what they would probably consult Mass DEP to consider what notice that they would have to move forward with.
And I know we had to do this process for the bike trail when that was in the Zone A area here too, and I see that there's a walkway that connects to that bike trail as well there too. I just wanted to more clarify what the process was moving forward, that's the same process that we had to do with this, and this looks like it is, and based on what was just said too.
The only thing I will mention, and I have mentioned this to the assistant director, but I don't think Timeline has submitted a draft for the design, is that there will likely not be the surrounding fence around the area. As you can actually see, there's gates on the areas, including the gate and fence that will be between the pavilion and the pool. I don't think it really makes sense to have a pavilion fenced in, seeing as how people are meant to just walk to and from, have it be open, and then have there be a gate between a fenced area for the pool and a fenced area for the pavilion.
I think it would send an incredibly confusing message.
Yeah, it would at the end save us money in terms of building that fencing, so I've already mentioned that over to the assistant director. And while these plans don't showcase that, that is our intention to not move forward with any fencing around the pavilion. With that being said, are there any other comments?
I mean, I would say that I would be in support of the full transfer of the 791, 342, 51. But it totally makes sense that bids could come over one or the other. And like you said, we have flexibility one way or the other. It's not something that's set in stone, so I think we should do it.
And with the funds both from not moving forward with the loaming and seeding for the ground, seeing as how we're moving forward with this, and it's the middle of winter, or about to be the middle of winter, and it wouldn't make sense to loam and seed right now. We're saving money there. We haven't delved into the contingency budget, so there are funds that are going to be available from phase 1 as well that, if needed, could be moved here or to another project as we decide, as that moves forward and gets finished up. With that being said, are there any more comments in favor of the proposed transfer?
Those being 2024 budget, when does that have to be spent?
That's a great question. We also received approval of an extension for those funds, and they do not have to be expended until December of 2026.
Okay,
Great.
great, thank you.
I'm sorry, I should have led with that.
But congratulations on getting through that process too.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments in favor for the proposed transfer? Any comments opposing the proposed transfer? I hear none, then I will entertain a motion for the proposed transfer of $791,342.51 to the Greenwood Pool Pavilion project from the canceled School Street School demolition.
So moved.
Second.
Alright, I hear a motion, I hear a second. All in favor for the proposed transfer, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. I hear none, motion passes. That clears up both the public hearings. And we will move on to the regular meeting, starting with the vote to approve the regular minutes of the regular meeting from October 28th, 2025.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Hear a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to the review of, under new business, item 2.1, review of FY 2026 CDBG application schedule. Assistant Director.
So the last item in your packet is a proposed tentative schedule for our fiscal year 2026 mini entitlement CDBG application. I wanted to present this to you all for your feedback, discussion. I looked through records from prior years to try to get a sense of what happened. And it seemed like there used to be a process where there was an initial preliminary application that applicants submitted, and then I'm not sure what happened in the interim. I didn't see any records saying, okay, you know, we reviewed these and these applications will go forward to full application. So I'm not sure what that process really looked like, but I'm proposing we not have that initial preliminary application this year. I think we can make the application simpler than it has been in the past to allow agencies to complete it fairly quickly. I think that the two applicants that were before us tonight are a good example of, I mean, I think they started getting applications back to us the day after we sent it to them. So I think if we allow a month for submittals, I think there will be plenty of time for a full application, and they don't need to do that interim step. So what I am proposing is that we're reviewing the proposed application schedule tonight, and I'd like to actually, on that second day, the Tuesday, December 2nd publication of the RFP, I'd like to move that to December 9th. I was being overly ambitious when I put this together. And then have training for potential applicants on the 16th. It looks like last year, and at least the year before, they made that mandatory. I don't think it needs to be mandatory. I think we can record it and I can send it to anyone who's interested in seeing that. I think it might be hard for people to get away if we do that during a work day or even in the evening. So that's what I would propose to do this year. We can record it and send it to people who can't make it. Then, yeah.
My comment on that is it's to their advantage to watch the training. So if they don't choose not to do it, then they might not have the most complete chance. That's our application, you know, so
great.
I have no issue with that. If there was something that it was like, we wanted to make sure if they really want to do it, they'll watch it. And
I agree.
Yeah, so I'll do it in person and then send out a recording to everybody that said they had an interest in applying.
Given its proximity to the holidays as well, there very well might be people already on vacations or just might be wrapping up work themselves, trying to get ready for the holidays. So having there be multiple options and avenues for them to get trained through this, I think is going to be the best option. So I appreciate you hosting both the in-person and sending out the virtual.
yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I think also too, along that line, it shows it's good faith for the city. It shows that we did the best we could to get, you know, to accommodate, and also this is available if you couldn't come. So I think it's more transparent and complete.
Yeah.
So then, we would have a meeting of this committee on December 16th, which I know is outside of your normal schedule, so I want your feedback on whether that would work or not, to review our fiscal year 22-25 community development strategy. So that's a document that we submit to the state that is a summary of unmet needs or what we'd potentially like to use CDBG funds for in the city. It relies on information from other planning documents like the GRA, the urban renewal plans, the open space plan, master plan. It relies on those documents, pulls information in from them, and then has a prioritized list of potential projects. So we would review that at the December 16th meeting. And there's no public hearing required for that. It's just supposed to be presented at a public forum, so we don't have to advertise that 15 days in advance like we do for our other CDBG public hearings, so that makes it easier administratively. And we don't have to redo that community development strategy until next year's application, so federal fiscal year 2027. We can keep what we have in place, or we can revise it, so we can discuss it at that meeting and see if there are changes that we want to make to amend what we have currently. Then on January 8th, responses would be due from for our application. January 20th, we would hold an initial review of proposals. So what I have here, we would have a meeting to initially review proposals that are received, and then another public hearing on January 27th to continue that process. We don't need to have both of those, so like your feedback on, I mean, we can schedule them that way, and if we don't need the second one, we can cancel it. It gets a little tricky because of needing to run an ad for a public hearing 15 days in advance, so. And then I also have a final public hearing on February 24th to review our, application before we actually submit it by the end of March. So that gives us hopefully plenty of time to get through the steps we need to get through. We were only required to have one public hearing, so we could only have one. I just wanted to make sure we have time for this committee to, dedicate to the review of all the proposals, and not knowing how many we'll receive, thought we might need to.
Maybe more time.
I would defer to the rest of the committee, as you've all been through this process in its totality before.
I've got some comments that long and short, yes, I think the more hearings is better. I think it's similar to when we work with the council on when the committee set the budget hearing, or the committee of the whole sets it so that if there's multiple ones, and if we need them, great. If not, then we've already planned for them. So it's better to plan ahead, I feel like.
Basically, you can post them and you can cancel them.
Yeah.
And that's what we do in that, as that example. It's incredibly helpful to be able to do it. If we don't need it, it's not there, but we already schedule it ahead of time, so we meet that. And people know about it. They have plenty of.
There's no harm in having it, yeah.
No, I think it's a good idea. And I like that it says if needed, just for this document. It's like, we just keep that in mind. But.
The other couple things that I'd like to throw out that I was kind of waiting until we got through a little bit more in the end of this was that so I do think that multiple hearings are better, because it's also a hearing. That's the thing too. So while we may have our ducks in a row here, that doesn't mean that there's still an opportunity for someone from the public to come and make a presentation here in the hearing model. I do like the taped training. We ran into issues this fiscal year where we had a couple of applicants who said because of the work that they were doing in their social service nonprofit, were not able to make it to the training, but then wanted to participate after, and we were trying to figure out how to fit them in when they weren't able to make a training that was deemed as required before. So I think that that's helpful too. Honestly, to me, this is the most complete, thorough process that's clean that we've had since I've been mayor here for the CDBG process, and I think this is going to be really great moving forward. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think having this document, you had to go research what the process was before, and I think it's this is the process on the document. I think that's incredibly helpful for historical reasons too. But I just wanted some clarification. So it'd be December 9th would be publish the ad, submit the current 22 to 25. That first box was, you were changing that to December 9th?
So December 9th would be.
From December 2nd?
Yes,
Okay.
it would be public, the application being available will be published on December 9th.
Okay, And then the next box down, Friday, December 12th, is that changing to the 16th?
So, I'm not sure why I put that there, but, that, will happen so we know that EOHLC's application will be available somewhere around, January 16th. And so we are supposed to, 2 weeks prior to their application being available, we are supposed to, submit our community development strategy to them. So, no, that box can actually move down to, below the December 16th meeting.
Okay, so conduct application training for potential applicants now goes below the Tuesday, December 16th box.
The submit the current community development strategy goes below,
Okay,
yeah, the December 16th meeting, sorry about that.
okay, that's okay, and so this goes here, and then, but the box that says Friday, December 12th, 2025, conduct application training for potential applicants, that's December 12th, that stays?
It can't, I think I'd move that to the following week, so I'm thinking December 16th.
Okay, I thought I changed that, but I wasn't
Yeah,
sure if I heard it
yeah.
correctly, okay.
Just to give people time to know that it's available and put it on their calendar.
And that would be the Tuesday the following week, Tuesday the 16th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so those were my questions, thank you. I think this is really helpful, I agree with the public hearing piece that we already talked about. And, I think this is, like you said, you just have to start somewhere. It seems like as long as you understand, you know the process, that's your job. Like, so, to me, it all looks great, because it's laid out, it seems like there's enough time between things, like you said, there's days you have to post certain things, there's all of that, and it looks like it's all been accounted for, so, I don't have any other suggestions or anything, and I also think it gives plenty of time before the deadline too, because
Yeah.
the deadline isn't the due date, right, it's a deadline, so like we could turn it before then, or we could have it, but
Yes.
so I think that's what it allows for some time, I mean, even just the, example that the mayor gave regarding like the way that we do our budget public hearings, when we do that in the spring for the council, just thinking of that as like, we've always given a big window at the end of it, in case we have to meet multiple more times, or whatever happens, and, this process, it seems like it's accounting for that, so I'm comfortable with it for that reason. And then, we can meet later on after it's over and see how it works for you too, because your office is the one managing it, so.
It also gives us a lot of lead time, it gives us 3 meetings leading up to February 27th, which is the end date to have either submitted a timely expenditure waiver request, or to have expended up to 90% or 90% at least of your 22-23 funds, and 40% of your 2024 FY of your FY24 funds. So it allows us to check in over those 3 meetings, see where our spending is at for our grant budgets for those grant years, and ensure that hopefully we won't be submitting a request maybe for FY24, given the pavilion construction project that we'll be doing. So at least maybe not a FY22-23 expenditure request, and just to check in on.
Yeah, I think it's gonna just depend on how many responses you get, that's really that kind of January 8th is like, what do we have to work with too? That's gonna be indicative of a lot of this.
Alright, if there's no other comments, we can move on to old business with 3.1, status of FY 2025 CDBG mini entitlement grant. Assistant Director.
So, do you wanna talk about the 205-213 Main Street, do you have any updates for that, or?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
sorry, no, I jumped ahead, I'm so
No, you're
sorry.
good, you're good.
I'm so sorry. We haven't heard anything more on our application after that initial award letter that the mayor received, so we're just waiting for additional information on that. We do know that they'll, that they did not score our school street school design project, that was $90,000. So we'll need to provide a new project to allocate that money to. Something I'd like to do with the RFP that I should have mentioned previously, but I'd like to, when we publish a notice that our application for fiscal year 26 funds is available, I'd like to include the additional amounts that need to be reallocated in that process, so you can look at all the applications together. For instance, we've been working on the St. Paul's Community Garden Expansion Project. They could submit a formal application as part of that process for this money that's available from the school street school design, or the money that's available from 2022-23, that 9,000 that's unaccounted for right now, or we also have 51,000 in program income from CDBG that we had said we were going to use for school street school. So I'd like to wrap those pots of money into this process to make it clean and all together and everyone considered at the same time. But going back to the 2025 application, that's where we stand. We're just waiting for more information from EOHLC on that.
Alright, moving on to 3.2 with 2022-23 project updates. Starting off with the demolition of 205-213 Main Street. As has been said in previous meetings, that demolition has been completed. We've been in the process, being the land owned by the Gardner Redevelopment Authority and myself being its executive director, have been in the process of a land sale. With that, we've not entered the closing. I've finished drafting up the purchase and sale agreement, sending that off to the buyer for their review, and I've heard back some initial comments, but I'm still waiting on the actual redlined version of the P&S for myself to go through and review those edits. They seem to be pretty surface level, a couple of deliverables here, just making sure that the buyer has all of the necessary environmental documents that came from the, I would say, limited remediation with the site, given just the unused oils that were in the oil tank and the lead paint that was found in parts of the building. So it was pretty light compared to other projects, environmental remediation. So just providing all of that information. So I expect that to not take too long, and once we enter the closing, similar to how the mayor said, School Street has been in executive session. This has also been been in executive session until we enter the closing. Following that, all that information will enter public knowledge, and we can move forward from there in terms of closing up the 205-213 demolition. I'll leave it at that. If anyone has any comments?
Just a question regarding this one, and then how it relates to 3.3.2. So the CDBG funding that we received went towards the demolition of the project. That project being completed now, the sale being done with the GRA. So really, this work is fully done, completed, especially now that we've transferred that funding to something else.
Yeah.
So there's nothing else that needs to be done CDBG wise for.
No, for 205-213,
Okay.
it has been completed on their side
Yeah.
fully. And financially, project-wise, all of those have been fully submitted. So in EOHLC's perspective, 205-213, the only reason it's still on here is so that we know that this project is wrapped up and we put the nice bow on it at the end, and that it's been passed off and given as, a new life, to say.
Yeah.
So, and the same will happen with Greenwood Pool demolition when that project is completed. So I will pass on for 3.2.2 to Assistant Director Uhas.
So I don't know if you've been by the site lately, but I was out there this morning and it's fully flat. Everything, all the bricks have been removed, everything's been removed. They backfilled where the building was. I think they're just on the last few steps of completing their contract, which is removing the chain link fence and gate. new electrical service and lighting controls, and then topsoil installation and seeding, which, you know, we'll fill you in on how that discussion goes and what, if a portion of that will be done now, or if we'll do a change order to remove that from Associated Building Records contract with us. So wrapping that up, it was a really smooth process. They were great to work with, the contractor was great to work with, Time Bond were great to work with, so I'm really happy about the way it's turned out. Any questions?
All right, moving on to 3.3 FY24 project updates, 3.3.1 social services. Assistant Director.
So we are, good news, we got the Gardner Athletic Program agreement fully signed. It's sitting on my desk. We'll return a copy to the school department and we'll keep a copy, and then we will work with them to submit an invoice for the, the athletic scholarships that they provided to participants, and get the demographic and income data that we need from them, and then we can close out that project. The GEMS project is completed. Voices of Truth still needs to submit a final invoice and report, but they've submitted everything on time up to until this point, and their next report is due at the end of December. And the that we should be able to move this off of our agenda soon. I think after we get the final reports in December, this will come off our agenda, and we'll be looking towards those fiscal year 25 funds and the public social services that were included in that application.
All right. And we've mainly covered 3.3.2 demolition of School Street School, but if there's any further comments you wanted to share?
No.
All right. There being nothing else on the agenda, were there any other final comments before we close the meeting?
We have a new member who's agreed to serve as the mayoral appointee. Former Police Chief Neil Erickson is going to be joining us beginning our next meeting. So he'll be the mayor's appointee, and then the executive aide position was also just posted today for the new term. So once that's filled, we'll have a mayoral designee as well.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
With that, there being nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I just wanted to say, did we want to talk about December 16th? You'd said that's a meeting that's off. Do you want to do that here, or?
We can.
If you'd like to, if you have your calendars.
Or if you're going to reach out to us after.
I can reach out to, it's
Okay.
probably easier if I reach out to you after.
Then we can take a
Look at your
yeah.
calendars and see. Okay,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Look for that early next week.
Thank you.
And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I hear a motion to adjourn. I hear a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Amy, great job.